It's time for the news on QTV, and of course, a hard luck to Chipolo Polo boys as they went down to Guinea-Bissau by 2-1. Top stories in our news today. The Zambia police has been challenged to explain to the country what exactly its investigations into the recent Unza riot is all about. Zambia and Denmark have agreed to find ways through which to enhance economic cooperation between the two countries. Now the news in detail. The Zambia police has been challenged to explain to the country what exactly its investigations into the recent University of Zambia Unza riot is all about. Human rights lawyer Mono Mapani does not think there is any detail the police should be establishing in a matter facts are already known. Mr. Mapani states that the police should simply arrest officers that were deployed at the University of Zambia to quell the riot in which a female student died of suffocation from tear gas smoke. He has told QTV News in an interview that he believes that by now the police commander must be aware of which police officers fired the tear gas canister that entered hostel rooms where the late student was. And Mr. Mapani has urged President Edgar Lungu to consider relieving Minister of Higher Education, Professor Nkanduluo, of her duties as he thinks she has failed to perform. He says that President Lungu should realize that it is wrong for him to keep non-performing ministers.
And we cannot continue telling the people hiding in the name of investigations. The things are simple. We need to ensure that, first of all, government should restore professionalism in the police service. This is cardinal and it's supposed to be a must. Secondly, we know and the command is aware of the police officer who executed a wrong act and is supposed to be punished. Finally, but the most important one, Madam Nkanduluo has failed. She needs to be...
Rights activist Brebna Changala has proposed that the Public Order Act be redesigned in a manner that it is no longer prevailed over by any politician. Mr. Changala says that the current situation where the Inspector General of Police answers to the Minister of Home Affairs in implementing the act has made the Zambia police to be unprofessional. In an interview with QTV News, Mr. Changala has suggested that the Zambia police will be more professional in administering this law if its top command only answers to the Attorney General. Mr. Changala says that this should also mean that the Zambia Police Act must equally be restructured in a manner that it guarantees security of tenure for the Inspector General of Police. He believes that such review of the country's law will enable the Zambia police to be more independent in executing its mandate. Mr. Changala has since urged the people in the country to take advantage of consultative meetings government will open on the review of the Public Order Act and ensure that such changes are met. He says that the review of the Public Order Act is a matter of need in Zambia, as it has only become a tool to suppress political opponents by those in government.
Public Order Act must be redesigned that is not answerable to a Minister of Home Affairs through the police. No, I would rather at this point in time that the Inspector General of Police, one, must have security of tenure. Two, he must report to the Attorney General, who is apolitical. We will need to have an independent, professional police force that does not answer to the whims of a politician, like a Minister of Home Affairs. When a policeman denies you a permit, he's sending you to your rival, a politician, to appeal to your rival. And yet, it's the same character who issued the instructions that the politicians or the opposition must not function. How do you treat your fellow citizens like idiots? How? How do you take that? The Public Order Act is a dead document being used by little frightened men and women. It must go, and the sooner it goes, the better for this republic.
The opposition National Democratic Congress has threatened to take legal action against the police if they continue denying the party to hold public meetings. Meanwhile, the NDC has charged that Zambia is slowly drifting into an authoritarian regime, as can be seen by the continued unprofessional conduct by the police to stop some opposition parties to hold public meetings while allowing others to do so. NDC acting spokesperson Mishek Moyo says that the decision by the state police to deny the NDC to hold a public consultative meeting in Chingola on Saturday is nothing but utterly absurd. Mr. Moyo, who has demanded for the immediate depoliticization of the police service, says that the police should for once act professionally and independently and start making decisions that are in the interest of the general populace. He has expressed concern that on several occasions the police command countrywide has refused to allow the NDC to hold public meetings, further disclosing that in the last 11 months, police on the Copper Belt alone have only allowed the NDC to hold the two public meetings, that is in Ndola and Mufulira. A consortium of opposition political parties has called for unity and peace in the country ahead of the National Day of Prayer, which falls on the 18th of October annually. Speaking during a joint media briefing in Lusaka, New Congress Party leader Peter Chanda called for a ceasefire among politicians and student movements. Pastor Chanda says that unity and peace need to be upheld during the National Day of Prayer.
But this is our own country. And I want to state that we are in a position where we have a few days before we get to the day of national prayer. We have a few days before we can celebrate the independence. And I'm calling upon the students at the University of Zambia that let this moment of prayer, reconciliation, and repentance be a moment when the students will turn up in numbers for these prayers to pray that the sacrifice of that student who died should be the last fight, should be the last resort to protest against new allowances. That is the best way that the students at the University of Zambia would honor the memory of the deceased student. May our soul rest in peace. And want to pass our condolences to the bereaved family. Think of it, ladies and gentlemen, fighting over meal allowances costing the life of an innocent person. Let that be a moment when the management of the University of Zambia will come to the day of national prayer, reconciliation and fasting, and pray that they will manage the institution better. And I'm calling upon the Dean of Students not to allow a situation that the University of Zambia has prevailed or the students have been succumbed to, where they've lived without a student body for a long time. This should not be repeated, and I underscore, it should be a moment where the Minister of Higher Education would come to that prayer and ensure that she makes a commitment to the Zambian people that never again shall a student die. Never again shall riotous behavior be done at the University of Zambia.
People in the country have been called upon to turn up in great numbers during this year's National Day of Prayer, which falls on the 18th of October annually. Opposition Movement for National Transformation (MNT) President Daniel Shimunza has also encouraged all Christian denominations in the country to attend the National Day. Mr. Shimunza says his party thinks that the National Day of Prayer has nothing to do with either the ruling Patriotic Front, PF, or the opposition UPND or other opposition political parties. Therefore, it will be unfortunate if any political party shuns this day. Speaking shortly before the inauguration of African Episcopal Methodist Church Pastor James Piri in Lusaka's Lelanda area, Mr. Shimunza told Q News that his party will attend the annual national event. Mr. Shimunza says that the MNT believes that at a day such as the National Day of Prayer, politicians need to come together and pray to God. He says his party therefore finds it regrettable that the UPND leadership has discouraged its members from attending the day of national prayer.
Some leaders who are saying that they will not come for these prayers, the arguments are very shallow. And we find as Movement for National Transformation unfortunate that parties like the UPND are discouraging by their leader to, for people to participate, that they pray every day. All of us pray every day, but this is a national calendar, and we are proud to be Zambians, and we are going to pray to God on that 18th of October and ask God to help us beyond the PF and beyond all the challenges that we have. So as Movement for National Transformation, we'll participate in all national agenda and all national calendar will be part of that. And so we want to encourage the church to encourage all their members to attend the National Day of Prayer and begin to take the nation into the hands of God so that Zambia can be blessed as a nation that fears God. So divisive politics and adversarial politics, we are not going to participate in that. Some leaders.
Minister of Transport and Communications, Brian Mushimba, has maintained that the speedy traffic cameras are in Zambia to stay and now form part of people's living. Mr. Mushimba says after Lusaka, where they were being installed, speed cameras will be rolled out to the rest of the country. In an interview with Q News, Mr. Mushimba says the idea with these cameras is not, however, to extract money from citizens. Mr. Mushimba says the objective is to change the mindset of citizens to obey speed limits in order that the country reduces chances of fatal road traffic accidents. He says it is common knowledge that chances of survival in a low speed impact road accident are higher than in higher speed accidents. Mr. Mushimba says that this is why government is rolling out more intelligent solutions in road traffic management. He states that government wants to ensure that compliance to speed limits on the roads is enhanced in the country.
The objective is to start changing the mindset of the people to obey speed limit, to lower their speed so that we increase the chance of survival in case of an accident on our roads. A low speed impact accident, people survive those accidents than a high speed race chasing of that has been happening on our roads. So that's the objective. So yes, the cameras are here to stay. This is going to be part of our living. We're going to roll out more cameras. We're going to roll out more intelligent solutions in traffic management to make sure that compliance to speed is enhanced in the country. And I know there will be a correlation to a reduction in the number of deaths on our roads. And that is what the objective is.
The Bankers Association of Zambia, BAZ, says it is in support of government's intention to rebase the country's gross domestic product, GDP. Chief Executive Officer Leonard Mwanza says revaluing the country's GDP by including the value of production of other informal sectors will enable government to know how far the economy has grown. Mr. Mwanza says that rebasing the GDP will also help government to have a new basis of accounting and also help it to keep in check some of the fundamentals. In an interview with QTV News, Mr. Mwanza says after the Zambia's GDP has been rebased, he expects the true GDP debt ratio to equally be known. Mr. Mwanza says that the country will in turn know whether the country's debt levels are high or are high risk or not, and whether the debt is manageable or not. He says his association therefore hopes that through this rebasing of the country's GDP, the true value of the economy will be ascertained.
So I think after the rebasing, we should be able to see where our true debt GDP ratio stands. We should also be able to start debating whether from the analysis that will come out of the rebasing, whether our debt situation is high risk or manageable and things like that. So it's one measure of basically trying to remeasure the GDP of the economy and trying to bring out some of the ratios that we keep talking about. And we hope through this rebasing, we can have a true value of the economy, and then certainly ratios, certainly calculations will definitely change. And the likelihood is that if it's a positive growth, some of those ratios will also give a much more positive indicator. So we may end up getting into the threshold we've actually, the threshold that we have put in our targets in terms of our GDP debt ratio for foreign debts, local debt, and even all the other things. So I think.
Heritage Coin Resources Limited, which has been trading as a financial institution, is reported to be conducting its business without a license from the Bank of Zambia and other sector regulators. The Drug Enforcement Commission, DEC, has cautioned members of the public to be wary of this company, which has been offering financial services and collecting deposits. The Commission and the BOZ are currently investigating the company for activities contrary to the Prohibition and Prevention of Money Laundering and the Banking and Financial Services Acts. In a statement to Q News, the DEC Acting Public Relations Officer Kamufisa Manchishi says members of the public who may have been making deposits with the company should remain calm. Mr. Manchishi has urged them to contact the DEC Anti-Money Laundering Investigations Unit for further information. And Mr. Manchishi says that the DEC, through its Anti-Money Laundering Investigations Unit in Lusaka, has arrested one person for money laundering activities involving over $360,000.
We've since moved in as DEC through our Anti-Money Laundering Investigations Unit, working with the Bank of Zambia, who are the regulators in that sector. And of course, we're investigating activities in relation to the Prohibition and Prevention of Money Laundering Act, as well as the Banking and Financial Services Act. So of course, we would also want to appeal to members of the public to be extremely cautious when they're dealing with financial institutions, especially in the increase of financial crimes that we have seen recently. And also we've seen an increase in institutions that are offering these promotions and these extremely unusual returns on client deposits. So members of the public should be careful, exercise maximum caution when you're dealing with these institutions. And of course, when you suspect something out of the ordinary, do feel free to get in touch with us as an institution or other regulators in the financial sector. Then we've also arrested one person through our Anti-Money Laundering Investigations Unit here in Lusaka. This suspect is identified as Likando Kamayoyo. He's aged 32. Now, this person has been arrested for theft by servant, has been arrested for theft by agent, as well as money laundering. This suspect had conducted money laundering activities in relation to over $360,000 US. This was through activities where he purported to be collecting fertilizer and other materials on behalf of his employers, when in fact not.
The Center for Young Leaders in Africa, SILA Executive Director Jones Malunga, says that the recent increase of fuel prices, which has also seen bus fares going up, is detrimental to the young, small and medium enterprises, SMEs, in the country. Mr. Malunga tells Q News that the country has young people who have ventured in various businesses, especially that to do with agricultural products, and requires transportation from one place to another. He says the fuel increase is therefore a drawback to these young people who are contributing to the economic development of the country. Mr. Malunga has charged that the decision to increase the fuel prices by a big margin is very insensitive on the part of the leadership in the government.
We were not happy. We are not happy about it, and we know that the reasons that are coming out of government is that it's global as usual. I think these are things that are within our means, and we should be able to control the way the increments are done. You know, this increment is going to hurt the young people who are at the core, or who are the majority in this particular economy. And the young people specifically, when we look at young people that are involved in transporting goods, young people that are involved in agriculture, this particular increment is not going to help in any way. And I think it is high time that government came clear and straight in terms of their policies as regards energy. You know, we have been told from 2016 to say the government is going into a government-to-government contract with the with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and this has never materialized. It has changed from this statement to this statement. Now we're saying the fuel came in and it was not even enough. So what we're saying as young people is that I think our leaders are a little bit insensitive to the plight of the young people. We have a serious crisis in terms of employment in this country, and to be able to start increasing fuel at this particular moment is, by that particular margin, is really, really hating us, and it's going to hate us so much. We hoped there was a way in which probably this increment could have been avoided.
Zambia and Denmark have agreed to find ways through which to enhance economic cooperation between the two countries. Danish Chief of Protocol in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Michael Zioma-Jones, and Zambia's ambassador to Sweden, Rose Sakulatula, have observed that there was minimal trade between the two countries despite enjoying bilateral relations since 1958. This came to light during a meeting when Ambassador Salokatula traveled to Denmark earlier in the week to present her letter of credence to Queen Margaret II in Copenhagen. Mr. Zioma-Jones notes that a number of bilateral cooperation arrangements have been engaged between Zambia and Denmark, but it was regrettable that trade activities have remained very low. He says it was important that the two countries devised ways of enhancing bilateral trade relations. Meanwhile, Ambassador Salokatula expressed Zambia's desire to engage Denmark in exploring trade and investment cooperation opportunities. Ambassador Salokatula further briefed Zambians about the processes involved under the dual citizenship clause, which was effected in August last year, 2017. This was in line with amended Republican Constitution. This is contained in a statement made available to Zanis in Lusaka by Zambia's Chancellor at the Swedish Embassy, Nikki Shabolio. Bwana Mkubwa Member of Parliament Jonas Chanda says he has received assurance that construction works on the Chiwala-Chilanga Road in Ndeke area will be completed by November this year. Dr. Chanda says that the industrial road has been worked upon for the last 1.5 months. In an interview, Dr. Chanda has told Q News that he is happy that the road, which caused so much suffering to the people of Ndeke, will now be constructed to withstand heavy-duty trucks. Dr. Chanda says once completed, people of Ndeke will not complain of any dust they have been exposed to in the past by trucks that have been using the road. And finally, Serenje Central Member of Parliament Maxwell Kabanda says that the just-ended Central Province Investment Expo has reviewed the various drivers which will steer the province to sustainable development. The lawmaker says that the Central Province had unexploited abundant natural resources, making it an epitome of agricultural production in the country. Mr. Kabanda says that the province had abundant tourism, mining and rich cultural heritage such as the Dr. David Livingstone Memorial Site, the Nsalo Caves, the Kasanka National Park with its migration of bats are some of the factors influencing the demand for tourists in the province. He has noted that the support from all the traditional leaders in the province witnessed the official opening of the event by President Edgar Lungu showed unity of purpose which should be nurtured. Mr. Kabanda has since stated that all in all, the whole concept of Investment Expo should be replicated to all the provinces in the country for easy identification of the available opportunities which will help in the attainment of Vision 2030 without leaving anyone behind.
The presence of all the chiefs in the province at the Expo also showed that no one wants to be left behind in this whole process. And I think that we can only achieve our Vision 2030 if all the key players in the province rallied behind the vision of this government. The investment expos are clusters through which we can expose our available resources to the outside world, as well as to the local investors. In China, for instance, they've got these industrial clusters, which are known as economic zones. China developed because of those economic zones. The presence of all the chiefs